Breaking down the news, ladies and gentlemen, as the world mourns Elizabeth II. There have been mixed reaction from the African nations, ladies and gentlemen, penalizing, criticizing her role for the colonialization of the people of the continent of Africa, ladies and gentlemen, and that is the discussion here on Deep Roads TV. Greetings, greetings, and salutations to all nations. Ladies and gentlemen, you know I'm Rastafari, soldier of Deep Roots TV, and if this is your first time tuning into the Rastaman channel, I'm asking you, hit that red subscribe button, becomes a part of the Rastaman panel, a historic set of events on this September 11, 2022, ladies and gentlemen, exactly 21 years ago. Yeah, one of the most notorious and vicious attack on the United States. And ironically, another traumatic situation on that weekend. The world ruling and the longest English monarch, Queen Elizabeth II, who have ruled over 70 years. Over 13 presidents, you are going to and over 15 prime minister. Kick the bucket, died. Condolences to the family pours in worldwide from top down. You are going to. Now, there have been mixed feelings amongst many, some from African and Caribbean islands. Now, as condolences pour in from around the world after Queen Elizabeth's death, an article here read in Reuters, there were mixed feelings among some of the Africans about the monarch and her country's colonial legacy on the continent where Britain once ruled. Now, because of this critique of the legacy of colonialization, the European press is full on in their denial and subliminal consent of the oppression, destabilization of the Africans that are worldwide scattered because of the colonial rule and because of the capitalization of the tyrannic rule of this so-called royal family. Now the article continues and says some had formed memories of British longest serving monarch who came to seem to have held their country down. The crown has held over 20 continents and over 20 countries across the continent during its 70 years of reign. Now others, however, had retained anger at Britain for colonial times and recall times like the brutal 1950s, the crushing of the Kenyans, the Mama Rebellion, as the sun set on Britain's empire, and a huge diamond the British family acquired from the colonial South Africans of 1905, which the Queen never returned despite many calls from the Africans. Now, when you look at many ceremony that's going on right now, and it has dominated the airways, few people even speaking about one of the greatest tragedy ever in America, in September 11, 21st anniversary, I have to wonder myself, is this a sleight of hand? A change of era? A changing of the guards? I remember back in the Jubilee, a good friend of mine, big up yourself, Stash Pot, told me the Queen was already dead. That's a hologram. Now, I'm not spreading a conspiracy theory. I'm just using my God-free willing mind and speaking from a conscious contemplation. Now, the article continued that Elizabeth was just 25 and on a visit to Kenya with her husband Philip. She then learned that her father, George, the King VI, had died. And she has now become the ascender, or the heir to the throne, February 6, 1952. And since that day, she have served like no one has served. She have traveled the world. She has visited Africa. She have upheld the royal command to the best of her ability and her promise. And when the Queen visited Uganda in 1954, it was a young boy in primary school. I'm sorry. I was a young boy in primary school. She was a young, small woman who looked very humble. She was very admired and smiling. These are the words of Vincent Wassor, an 84-year-old retired postal worker, speaking to Reuters. We could not believe that so much power was given to a woman so young, he said by phone from Mbarara, West Uganda. Now, the Ghanaian president, Nana Akufo-Addo, whose country the Queen visited in 1961, 4 years after it became the first African country to get its independence, they lowered the flag and said that Ghana was proud to be a part of the Commonwealth of Nations. Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta, whose first name means freedom in Swahili, and whose country gained independence in 1963, called her a towering icon of selfishness in service. Many were less enthusiastic about celebrating the life of a monarch whose country has chosen to strive off of the back of the African nations. There are Africans such as 98-year-old Kenyan Gituwa Akuru, who was 17 when he joins the Mama Rebellion against the British rule. They occupied my land, my birthright, he said, twirling a black cane at his home in Thika, as he recalled being detained in the camps by British force, beaten and denied food. But we are mourning the Queen because she is a person. a human being, he said. We are sorry for the lost. We're sorry when people die. South African Marxist opposition party, the Economic Freedom Fighter, said, we do not mourn the death of Elizabeth. Our interaction with Britain has been one of pain, death, and disposition, and of the dehumanization of the African people. It said, listening, aristocrat committed by, listing the atrocities committed by British force. Now, as you see, the paper here would paint anyone, because they thought they slide that in on me, because it was admirable and African-like for the Kenyan and the Ghanaian presidents, and even Vince, the 84 retired postal worker that spoke to Reuters over the phone. But when it comes to someone that gives reproach or don't kowtow, the paper will say things like what they just classified this gentleman as. You understand? And it's a shame. Just because the Kenyan Gituwa Akagore, who was 17 and joined the Marmar Rebellion against the British rules, Jamaicans, listen up. So when I hear my like Sizzla Kalonji, I say big up the Marmar Gideon. This is what they're talking about. This is some of the examples that the man that call himself Rasta recognize as far as imagery. Because Tika recall a different side of life. He recalled they occupied my land. He recalled they took his birthright. He recalls being detained in camps by Britain force. He recalled being beaten and being detained. So he's saying that for the Queen to wait for him to mourn, it's not something that you would really say. But again, being an African, a person of humility, him still says, we are sorry for people dying. And the paper here now, Reuters, another huge communicator, disseminator of information, whether good or bad, right or wrong, says in the next line in their article, the South Africa's Marxist opposition party, the Economic Freedom Fighters. Now, I'm not sure if it's necessary for them to put South Africa Marxist Opposition Party. They could have said South Africa's Economic Freedom Fighters or the opposition party, Economic Freedom Fighters, states or said, we do not mourn the death of Elizabeth. And then explain why that our interaction with Britain has been one of pain, death, dispossession, and of the dehumanization of African people worldwide. And everyone is upset about that. He continued and listed the atrocities committed by the British force in the 19th and the early 20th century. And of course, the paper didn't list them. Now we continue by saying, despite this view of her, Elizabeth forged a close relationship with late South African leader Nelson Mandela, the first post-apartheid president, and visited South Africa twice after the end of the white minority rule. Again, you can't do wrong and try to see a face in a family. She was an enthusiastic advocate for the Commonwealth of 56 nations. Most of them form the British colonies. So when they make it sound like say she was hands off and this and that, she had weekly meetings, and all of her Commonwealth nation, she have a mini-me called her Governor General that have to sign off on your Prime Minister's order or approve of your Prime Minister's authority or being elected. So when you see Barbados under the beautiful and powerful and intellectual Mia, say, yo, we are leave the Commonwealth and become a republic. This is the perfect time, because nobody wants to aggress an organization that has a leader as a frail, soft-spoken grandma. So they took one out the Black Family book and perched her up on the softest throne and expect us to forget the atrocities that was committed under her rule. As some recall, Nigerians and Britain's support in 1964, the military dictatorship that crushed the Biafra rebellion in the east of the country. Igbo officers launched a rebellion in 1967, triggering a 3-year civil war. And this 3-year civil war killed more than 1 million people. And most of those people died from starvation, from famine. Now, if you notice, places like, Ukraine and different places, when there's atrocity being committed, and they should, the UN and NATO and other places, whenever there's disaster, rally around the flag and rally around patriotism and nationalism and morality and all the positive talking point. But when the atrocity, the greatest atrocity committed on a nation is going on, everyone either join in or turn a blind eye. Now, Uju and I, a Igbo professor who is now living in the United States, dare to speak from the other perspective of the lens. And it has sparked a controversy. And what did she do? She simply used the social media, Twitter, on Thursday and expressed her disdain for the monarchy who supervised a government that sponsored the genocide, the massacre, and the displacement of half of her family. And everybody is up in arms. Many news stations actually picks that up. Carnegie Mellon University has distanced itself from the message and called the statement offensive and objectionable. Of course, most people that reverend the Queen, that are Eurocentric or even Eurocentric mentality, look at her as a figurehead, a positive figurehead, a pristine, clean, iconic. So not only is it taboo or wrong, it's distasteful for Uju Ane, the Igbo professor in the United States, there that at Carnegie Mellon University, to at least express her intellectual opinion. Now, the statement is factual. The statement was not overreaching and as insulting as they are making it seem, because it appears that you cannot speak the truth. And my grandmother tell me, say, you have to tell the truth or never talk. So, what she said, that she not shed no tears for a monarch that supervised the sponsor of the genocide and massacre and displacement of half of her family, and the consequences of which those alive today are still trying to overcome. Now, like I said, is this a real life or is this a sleight of hand? because it appears that no one can dissent in today's world anymore. It is still illegal if you advocate for the dissolution or the dissolving or the removal of the monarchy today. Now, as we're speaking about the professor who lives in the United States and worked there at Carnegie Mellon University, it appears that many people on Twitter, especially Black Twitter, especially Irish Twitter, agrees with her statement, because the statement has garnished over 67,000 likes. But Carnegie Mellon University has distanced itself from her message, which the university called offensive and objective. The British monarch has played a large figurehead role. So while the Queen formally appointed Prime Minister and held regular meetings with them, she did not make policy. So that's the sleight of hand. Right? Innocent by omission. But when you're out there live your posh life, you wasn't complaining. And when in the detain the people them and take with them land, it wasn't nothing to you. So when the Kenyans, when the Ghanaians, when the South Africans, when the Jamaicans, when the Bahamians, Virgin Islands, Grenada, and all English-speaking country, territory, islands have a disdain, taste, or not a sweet feeling, especially when we all have come to the acceptance that slavery was not right. So you pardon the people of the world that has an opinion, and pardon the nations of Africa that grown up under the butt cheek or the shoes of Her Majesty Queen Alexandria Mary. Yeah. And it is not something that we want to make it seem like we're celebrating, because our time will come, and we too knew that our time will come. But you cannot fault the Africans and the children of the Africans for having a bad taste in their mouth about this whole situation. They have set us back many meters in the race. Anytime you speak about the biggest welfare recipient in the world, Queen Elizabeth II, because she have done is sit on her butt and get everything free from the day that she was born. And as Africans have the ability in the 21st, the 22nd and 23rd century, and time to come, we have to make sure that we vocalize our disapproval of the normalization of submission to one nation just because it is being said so. They use different terminology from republic to democrats, democratic to monarchy to anarchy to whatever. But this world is based up off of favoritism, and the root that grows the branch that bears the fruit is the monarch of England. I know Africans had the ideas also. England didn't originate it, but it depends on what you do with power. Because with absolute power comes an absolute responsibility to do the good for all mankind. And if you're not thinking like that, you're not leading right. And for you to annex other people's place and to plunder them and take the riches to your base and set up a washing of the brain system where the tongue of the people are removed and the systematically retraining of the people to idolize their own conquerors and oppressor. It's probably one of the worst madness ever done to humans on planet Earth. So when you see certain pictures and you can print them off or download them, do so. Because the same people that are writing these articles and censoring films and video and talking points and setting up, this new, what I heard the United States President say, Joe Biden, the new liberal order. Because here it is, the old world order. Because the old world is over there, England, Rome, Africa. And the new order, that old order was already passed on to the children. Like the Duke of York that founded New York. So they're way ahead of us in changing the episode. Because it's their TV, it's their radio station, it's their newspaper, it's their internet. So it is important for us to recognize the days, the time is the weekend of September 11, 2022, 21 years after one of the worst situation in the United States. And here, one of the worst situation for the European and the monarchs. No, they say one man's curse is another man's blessing. So as her son ascends to the throne, King George, they said he might choose, but from what I've heard, he have chosen King Charles III to rule under. Now, like I said, it's still illegal for you to call for the dissolution or the dissolving or the taking down of the biggest welfare sham in the history of mankind. But from the ancient Pharaoh and Zadok the priest would say, long live the king. They have incorporated that also into the theft of the minds of the world. Because as you hear many times in the politics, it's a battle for the minds and the soul. Ladies and gentlemen, in the words of the economic freedom fighter, we do not mourn the death of Elizabeth because she has represented the head of one of the world's largest scam, one of the world's largest figurehead that holds oppression on the minority. This is a rule by minority as they hold oppression on the so-called, I should say, minority, which is the majority. Because many people would wonder, how come she become king? Because they say that the Creator put them there and they are to rule and pass lineage down. Her lineage dates way back to Egyptian pharaohs. Believe it or not, one of the world's biggest secrets, ladies and gentlemen, the same family has been ruling for hundreds of thousands of years. Now, while the monarch largely plays a figurehead role in making decisions, this article is trying to make like they are out of the picture. Weekly meetings with Prime Minister and other heads of state and politicians. She has a weekly meeting. So they're trying to say that the Queen formally appoints prime ministers and had regular meetings with them. But she did not make policies. But what I'm saying is, in the islands, she have our governor general. So they are telling you, although we say we have taken our cheeks off you, our feet off you, our thumb off you, we still need to have an overseer to see if you're doing what we want you to do. That's not freeness, people. So King Charles is to take the throne. And now that the female psychological placeholder, because no one is going to aggress an elderly woman. Once Charles ascended the throne, the article states that it has stirred renewal for politicians and activists from colonies in the Caribbean to remove the monarch as the head of the state in, the British speaking island and country, for the role that Britain has played in slavery. The people them are asked for reparation. So when the people them say, yo, compensate my man, pay up, pay up, pay up. You know what the people them say? You're being insensitive. You are going to. When there's on over 56 countries and Commonwealth where these people rule, have access to all the assets, have access to all the resource, including the work the labor of the people. Because them a jar tax out of everything. So they're telling you straight up. So them are the Messiah upon earth. So the accession of King Charles to the British throne, I call the people them start call them say, yo, money bags, your son drop out. Money bags, politicians and activists from former colonial and Caribbean islands are calling for the removal. I'm wanting to understand this. Caribbean islands that speak English are all former colonial islands of the Britain. And all those islands are calling. Their head of states are calling for Britain, the monarch, Mr. Moneybags with all of the jewelry, with the biggest diamond in the world, we're going to take out from Africa on the scepter, and all them shiny nuggets step on the crown. We want you to pan it, melt down all of the gold, and pay we back, or give we back with thing them. The people them say Britain fi pay reparation. And the people them fi repatriate with the money after they get it. Don't steal and spend it back. Give them. You hear me? Heads of states, politicians, activists, the people them are at one with one voice, calling on the Britain monarch to stop the total anarchy on the melanated people, on the islands, on Africa. Stop dig out the oil and the gold, and we want with money back and with diamond. We want the thing them where you thief from. We people them pay us back. It is historically documented. The social media will try to block these things and lower it. So I want you to subscribe to my channel, share it up, share it to many other people before them delete it or block it. Because as you see in society, you cannot speak the truth. And that's why I'm here on Deep Roads. Deep Roads is for all the free youths. And to see here, to speak, eat, live, sleep, to live a comfortable life, and to work hard and, you know, live off of your fruits. Big up my uncle Donovan Powell out of New York. Because you is a great example for I and I, man. You are going to show the youths what to do. Always have your uniform clean and have your boots clean. Yeah, big up to all my family them, my mommy. Yeah, big up Pastor Powell. Now look her up, but I try to show and say we have to have some other people, especially people looking like us, that we pay reverence to. Big up my grandmother Amy Powell. What are you? Big up my cousin Oral Pauline out of Santa Cruz, because you're real strong, youth. I love you. Yeah, big up on yourself. My brother Fiber Dilla. Yeah, big up my sisters. Yeah, big up on yourself all over the world, because my family them wanna work hard and wanna strive. But when you have a person like all Queen Elizabeth now and all King George, them wanna just suck seed and suck grape and drink wine and yogurt and them thing there. Fine caviar and them thing there. The top of the top. But when you rule over 70 years and the people them say, yo, about time, man. You can't expect everybody for you. Everybody, even people where you treat weird, or I'm not even say weird. People where you took advantage of. People that you destroy their way of life, change their tongues, kill their gods, basically. But what I try to say, the Prime Minister of Jamaica said in his country that they would mourn Queen Elizabeth II. But his counterpart in Antigua and Barbuda order flags to have staff until the day of the burial. But in some quarters there are doubt about the role a distant monarch should play in the 28th century. Early this year, some Commonwealth leaders expressed unease at a summit in Kigali, Rwanda, about the passage of leadership of the 56th Nation Club from Elizabeth to Charles. Now, those things are a perpetuation of the same old ideology. And as they continue, they're going to continue the same relay of the same perpetuation of the dung holing or the dung strucking of my people, because of the same game the man them a play. That's why the Rasta man say a modern day slavery. So a lot of times you can't do nothing, but you just have to just chest out, chin up, and act like you're bravery. So when Commonwealth leaders are settled in back in 2018, them kind of know say sooner or later Charles is going to take over for your mother Queen Elizabeth as head as the organization. But when them get in Rwanda, some Caribbean members stated that they were not at ease with these decisions, family. So them never too like it. So when the Queen is in power, them no mind. But now that the man are coming in power, them now go allow him to shine. So me personally think this is a great opportunity for many nations, many Caribbean nations, to remove themselves. But a lot of people don't understand that in many countries, the Navy, the Army, or the Air Force, one of them, two of them, or even sometimes all of them, the police, and the royal crown pay them. And the country them would go to shambles, or there be a revolution. Because a lot of the politicians them in the melanated countries them are corrupt. But that's still not an excuse for someone to sit down upon your head for 70 years. Matter of fact, thousands of years the bloodline still been doing the same thing over and over, and they're coming up with all kind of things to push the people them back into a dark age like we're going back right now. Because as they burn all the books, delete all the files, delete all the videos, hide them in their archives, use algorithms to hide certain conversation, and even if your conversation is truth or can be proven historically, them no want you hear the truths. So that's why I'm telling you, subscribe to The Approach TV. Not everybody in the world mourn the Queen as she lived a 70-year posh life on a throne, probably the most comfortable throne. They are calling her the biggest welfare recipient on planet Earth because everything she get, she don't know what it worth. Here is one person that never worked one day in her life, and she end up to be the richest person in the world. Is that for spite? Now, when you see people out there work every day hard, it's like a clown them, the people there. Cause from a little bit, me know say hard work pay. But here you go. What would you know? You have one woman that has never worked in her life. She born with a diamond spoon inside and a gold spoon in her mouth. All the shit they have to do is wait for her daddy fi croak. And she sit down on the most plush, comfortable chair for 70 years. And now that little Miss Muffet has fell off her tuffet, it is illegal in today's society to say, hey, Miss Muffet, a time you did come off for the 70 year of carnage, the 70 years of displacement, the 70 years of illegality, robbing and plundering and raping and stealing from other people, the oppression of nations that spread from four corners of the earth. It was just in 1997 that they gave back Hong Kong to the Chinese. So it's not just Africa alone. What about the East Indian trade that they had? The business when they owned India, when they pillaged India's diamond and gold, when they enslaved India's people and population, and even up to today's day, there are still the remnants of what oppression is in all these islands. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Rastafari, soldier of Deep Roots TV, not rejoicing, but like the Kenyans them say, like the Rasta man them say, like all the black Twitter has said, the Rasta man nah mourn the queen. You are gone tea. And if you understand what I man mean, and the fact that in life you have to pay for the things that you done, and in life right now the same Eurocentric control mechanism is trying to get you to pay for what you say. You have to be careful on the so-called social media about what you say. So it's like a total different control. They're changing out the money, me people, so them can control the finance. After them dig out the gold and the diamond. First them start with digging out my human resource, my brother and my sister labor. And them use them to dig out the rubber. Now then dig out the oil, the diamond, the gold. And now they're after the uranium, the lithium, and the copper, and all kind of things. So them come with this. We are going electric. You are going to, and through all this taking, it's the bank they are breaking. Them set up them social class, and the minority has ruled the majority for centuries upon top of century. And what is worse, it's the same exact family that has been ruling. Ladies and gentlemen, who I am fooling, not you. Everybody love the queen. So me no want nobody if it go on like we don't love the queen. Everybody love the queen. Right now, me I wonder the pressure where the king I go face now. Because the people them must stand up and I say it is time somebody in this family take some kind of responsibility for the atrocity that the family has committed. So me I hope we down in our line Harry could step up on the throne, because at least in there would want half melanated or somebody would want some town. But it not look like it. It look like him are the dark sheep of the family, and him will never sniff the throne. You are guarantee. But I'm Rastafari soldier, ladies and gentlemen, here of Deep Roots TV. Just wanted to come in and point out the biggest welfare recipient in a planet Earth, Queen Elizabeth has passed. And because the African them was she thief out the gold them and the diamond for make her crown, I complain say, bring back me diamonds, bring back me gold. The European media has bashed them and said that it's distasteful, unbelievable. Ladies and gentlemen, them have a contract pan we breeding. Them have a contract pan we reading. Them have a contract pan we eating. And even a contract pan we speaking. And them around the thing. Well, my apologies, Your Highness. Right now, you are going to go 6 feet 6, so you should be known as Your Lowness. More life, more joy, more happiness. True or what?
Hello, my name is Ashina and welcome to the